Hello everyone and welcome to Mini Monday. I'm Trix and it's time for the week's news basically. This week Mini Monday is going to be a little bit different because we're going to cover some news from some other games as well as GW and other bits and pieces. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a game called War Machine. War Machine and Hordes and various other games are miniature games done by a company called Potential Press. Now, from what I'm hearing is that either the company is going to fold or they are no longer going to be supplying miniatures to the European market. That's the two things that I've heard recently about Potential Press and Hordes and War Machine. Hordes and War Machine was a rather strange game that had some significant issues when it transitioned editions. They were on the 3rd edition, I believe, before this awful thing happened. Basically, they invited a world-renowned playtester, or rather competitive player, into the actual company itself. The company changed the rules, so basically with him on board for 3rd edition, I believe this was, and he's taken basically half the company and left and set up some new game system. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but that's the news for the War Machine and Hordes game. There is a new box of Necromunda called High War, where you get some Zone Mortalis plastic sets. You get some card tiles. Again, I'm not a big fan of the card tiles because of their warping effects, especially in UK. And you get the Delac and Escher basic gangs. Now, this is a step backwards from the Corpse Grinder / Enforcers, or Palatine Enforcer box that they did about a year and a bit ago. So that means we've had three boxes now in approximately 4 years. This is a bit silly. I know Necromunda is a specialist game and it's probably my favourite game of all, but this box just seems a little bit much for the turnover period. It's much worse than the whole Lumineth debacle in my opinion. My advice is, unless you really want the terrain and one of the gangs don't buy it, it's not going to be around for long. It's probably going to have less than a year, maybe just over a year, depending on how things go. Update, because apparently there is a Brat gang, which is a very old gang from Confrontation, and Ash Nomad box on the horizon, from what my sources tell me. Second bit of news for Games Workshop itself is we've got a new model in the Sylvaneth range. It's called a Warsong Revenant. Now, basically, it's a flute player if you look at the picture here, and they sing things into life. You can see from the rather strange bugs coming out of the thing on his back, on his back trellis thing, and his leafy cloak. He seems to be playing some sort of weird flute and bringing life into the realms. That's going to be in the Broken Realms, probably Ariel book, which is possibly 1 or 2 books away. It is a quite okay model. It's nothing spectacular. I think a lot of Xenos fans for 40k are kind of disappointed because everyone thought it was some sort of Xenos race thingy. But no, it's Sylvaneth for Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar seems to be getting all the decent models of late. I don't know why. Maybe they're trying to get people into it a bit more, but there we go. The final bit of news for Games Workshop this week is the standard bearer, the banner bearer for the Sisters of Battle from the Battle Sister Bulletin. As you can see here, there's a very Joan of Arc reference with the haircut and the whole sword and banner thing. I think that goes back to the Bretonian character that they had that was inspired by Joan of Arc as well. It's called Reliquant at Arms. Reliquant at Arms, and okay, there's nothing more to be said about it really. It's okay, you know. It's got a fancy banner, and there we go. And lastly, let's move on to the thing that I've been talking about for a couple of times. I'm going to look at Madboyz. Now, Madboyz were in a book called Here We Go. Now, that was the first edition Warhammer 40,000 orc book. Basically, they were a type of orc that you would have to roll on a table for, and then you would have to roll on subsequent tables for what they were doing. So you'd have various types. You'd have like panic ones, you'd have frantic ones, you'd have melancholy ones, and that's what they were in Here We Go. Now, first edition Warhammer 40,000 was like a weird hybrid between RPG and battle game. Second edition is where it became more of a basically a game that we see today. And then after that, the next time we saw them was in third edition basically, and they had a little army list in White Dwarf 126, where they basically had a very small chart. I think it was D6 chart. I'll put it up here. And then they got mentioned in 4th edition in the Codex, and they got put in a chapter approved in 2003. Now, they have some rules in the most recent Saga of the Beast book, which is a book for 8th edition. I suppose you can still use it in 9th edition for orcs so far. They haven't said that you can't at the moment, but who knows with... So, what was it saying in Saga of the Beast? Well, in Saga of the Beast, they were a specialist mob. Now, they had a couple of feral orc units in the Saga of the Beast book, but we're going to just look at the feral orcs, and they were called Madboyz Frantic. Some greenskins are insane to an extreme, even for orc levels, and prone to violence even more than normal greenskins. These boys are often grouped together in deadly units. They're basically, you can apply it to infantry and biker units, which is new. So you can have any infantry or any biker unit. You can have moronics when resolving attack. Add 1 to the saving throw, basically. Nutters automatically pass morale tests, and frenziers add 1 to strength. Basically that's it. That's all we have for the 8th. Now, I hope that they would return in the Beast Snaga book, because while originally they weren't a feral unit, they were in the Here We Go book, which had some snake bites in it and some other things, and then they basically got pushed into feral orcs in 3.5, I believe it was, or 3rd edition, and they were mentioned in 4th and so on. So what they could be is they could be a hard-hitting unit, or they could be they could just basically be what they are in Saga of the Beast. They could just copy and paste the rules. Now, I don't think we'll get bike units in Beast Snagas. We'll probably just get squig hog units, so they'll probably apply it to that. They might make it a special unit on its own, or they might make it something like a subculture that you can add to different units. So a subculture of a subculture, a bit like the other units are in War of the Beast or Saga of the Beast book. So that's it. That's my Madboy review. I like Madboyz. I thought they were a really interesting unit in 3rd. They weren't really in 2nd when I started, so I didn't know about them until... Well, I did know about them from the Here We Go book, but we didn't really have them in the 2nd edition codex. And they came out for orcs. They were... well, the chapter approved or the White Dwarf codexes were a bit strange. Sometimes they'd be really good, sometimes they'd be hit and miss, sometimes they'd just be there for fun. This was a more for fun one in 3.5 or 3 and 4th that they were mentioned. So it was a bit unusual. I never used them personally. I did like them, but I never used them for my old army. Looking at the Saga of the Beast or War of the Beast book, they are interesting and they are usable. I mean, having a unit that can have the 3, and I think you pick 1 every turn, or roll D3 every turn, is it's quite useful because you get saves, you get strength, and you get pricing morale tests, which is really good, especially if you're you know, you got a bike unit and the leadership is quite iffy on bike units, especially as you only have 3 to 5 models. You lose them, and you lose some of them, and you have to pass a morale test. Okay, okay, that's my little bit of Madboyz. Next time we'll be looking at the Squeak Hogs, and Bull Boy comparison. That should be lots of fun. That was my favourite unit in Feralogs. Probably a lot of people's favourite unit, because of they were the main attraction of a lot of people, the old Bull Boys. So we'll look at that, and next time. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Mini Monday this week. I hope that you have a great time, and bye bye.